I would like to tell you the strangest secret in the world. In a brief interview in London, the famous doctor and Nobel Prize winner Albert Schweitzer was asked by a reporter what's wrong with men. After a moment of silence, the great doctor said, "Men just don't think." This is what I want to talk to you about. We live in a golden age that people have been looking forward to, dreaming about, and working toward for thousands of years. But now that it's here, we pretty much take it for granted. Take 100 men who start working at 25 or even younger. Do you know what will happen to those men when they are 65 years old? If you ask any of these men if they wanted to be successful, they would all say yes, and you could tell because they were excited about life, their eyes sparkled, their posture was straight, and life seemed like a fun adventure. By the time they are 65 years old, one will be rich, 4 will be financially independent, 41 will still be working, and 54 will be broke. Think about this. Out of 100 people, only 5 pass. Why do so many fail? What happened to the shine that they had when they were 25? What became of the hopes, dreams, and plans? And why is there such a big difference between what these men wanted to do and what they did? When we say that about 5% of people are successful, we need to define what success is. Here it is. Success is the gradual realization of a goal. Success is when a good goal is reached in the end. A well-known psychiatrist named Rollo May wrote a great book called Man's Search for Himself. In it, he says that the opposite of our society is not cowardice but conformity, and that's where the problem lies today. People who act like everyone else but don't know why or where they are going. Think about this. There are over 14 million people 65 and older in the United States right now, and about 13 million of them are broke. 19 out of 20 men didn't know why they worked or got up in the morning when asked. If you ask them, they'll say that everyone goes to work in the morning, so that's why they do it, too. Now let's go back to our definition of success. Who succeeds? The only person who succeeds is the one who works toward a good goal step by step. He's the one who says, "Have you ever wondered why some men work hard and honestly but don't get anywhere, while others don't work hard but seem to get everything they want?" Have you ever heard someone described as having the magic touch, where everything he touches turns to gold? Have you ever noticed that a man who is successful tends to stay successful, while a man who fails tends to fail again and again? Some people have them, while others don't. People who have goals do well because they know where they want to go. Imagine a ship leaving a harbor with the whole trip planned out. The captain and crew know where they are going and how long it will take to get there. 9,999 out of every 10,000 times, it will get there. Now, let's take another ship like the first one, but this time, it won't have a crew or a captain at the helm. It also won't have a target, goal, or destination. I think you'll agree with me that if it ever gets out of the port, it will either sink or end up on some deserted beach as a wreck that can't go anywhere because it doesn't have a destination or a guide. The same is true of people. Think about the salesman. No one in the world today has a better future than a good salesman. Selling is the best job in the world if we are good at it and know where we are going. Every company needs good salespeople, and when they find them, they pay them well. For them, the sky is the limit, but how many of them can you find? Someone once said that the human race is set up so that the weak don't win and the strong don't lose. The American economy today can be compared to a convoy in a war. The whole economy slows down to protect its weakest link, just as the convoy had to go at a speed that would allow its slowest vessel to stay in formation. That's why it's so easy to make a living today. You don't have to be smart or talented to make a living and support a family if that's what you want. But we have to decide how high we want to go now. Let's get back to the strangest secret in the world, the story I wanted to tell you today. Why do men with goals succeed in life and men without them fail? Well, let me tell you something that, if you really understand it, will change your life right away. If you fully understand what I'm going to say, your life will never be the same again. We become what we think about, and I'll say that again. People throughout history, from the great wise men and teachers to the great philosophers and teachers, have always become what they think about. Philosophers and prophets have had different ideas about many different things. Only about this one thing do they all agree completely. Marcus Aurelius, a great Roman emperor, said, "A man's life is what his ideas make of it." Disraeli said that if you wait, everything will come to you. After a lot of thought, I've come to the conclusion that a person with a clear goal must reach it, and that nothing can stop a person who wants something badly enough to risk life and limb to get it. Ralph Waldo Emerson said that a person is what he thinks about all day. William James said that the most important thing that my generation has learned is that people can change their lives by changing the way they think. He also said that if we act as if the thing in question is real, it will become real for sure because it will become so intertwined with our lives. He also said that if you care enough about a result, you will almost certainly get it. If you want to be rich, you will be rich. If you want to be learned, you will be learning. If you want to be good, you will be good only if you really want these things and wish for them exclusively, instead of wishing for 100 other things that don't go together as strongly. If you can believe, everything is possible for the person who believes. Dr. Norman Vincent Peale said that this is one of the most important rules in the universe. I wish with all my heart that I had found it when I was a young man. I didn't realize it until much later in life, and it was one of, if not my greatest, discoveries outside of my relationship with God and the Great Law. If you think in a negative way, you will get a negative result. If you think in a positive way, you will get a positive result. This simple fact is the basis for an amazing law of prosperity and success that can be summed up in 3 words: believe and succeed. William Shakespeare said that our doubts are like traitors who make us give up the good we could often get if we weren't afraid to try. People always say that their lives are to blame for who they are. I don't believe in the way things are. People who get ahead in this world are the ones who get up and look for what they want, and if they can't find it, they make it. It seems pretty obvious, doesn't it? For a while, everyone who figured this out thought he was the first. One corn, one nightshade. He fills in the holes, waters, and takes care of the land. Inevitably, the land will give back what was planted, just as the Bible says, "As you sow, so shall you reap." The land doesn't care. It will give back poison and just as much bounty as it will give back corn. Misunderstanding, fear, anxiety, and so on, but what we plant will come back to us. You see, the human mind is the last great unexplored continent on Earth. It has riches beyond our wildest dreams, and it will return anything we plant. You might ask, well, if that's true, why don't people use their minds better? I think they've figured out an answer to that, too. The knife came to free our minds, souls, bodies, hopes, dreams, ambitions, intelligence, love of family, children, and friends. All of these things that are worth a lot to us are free, but the things that cost us money are very cheap and can be replaced at any time. A good man can lose everything and start over again, and he can do this more than once. We can rebuild our house if it burns down, but we can never replace the things we got for free. Because we take our minds for granted, we don't use them. Familiarity breeds contempt. It can do any job we give it, but most of the time we give it small jobs instead of big ones. Universities have shown that most of us are only using 10% of our skills. Decide what you want now and keep that goal in mind. This is the most important choice you'll ever have to make. Do you want to be an amazing salesman? If you want to be a better worker at your job or move up in your company or community, all you have to do is plant that seed in your mind, care for it, and work steadily toward your goal. Not only will it happen, there's no way it won't. It's like Sir Isaac Newton's laws of gravity. If you jump off a building, you'll always go down. You'll never go up. Think about your goal in a calm, positive way and see yourself as if you've already reached it. Imagine yourself doing the things you will be doing when your goal is reached. At a time when medical research has brought us to a new level of good health and long life, too many of us worry ourselves to an early grave trying to handle things on our own without learning a few great laws that will take care of everything for us. These things we bring on ourselves through our habitual way of thinking. Each of us is the sum total of our thoughts. I remember driving through Arizona and seeing one of those huge earth-moving machines roaring down the road at about 35 miles per hour with what looked like 20 tons of dirt in it. It was a huge, amazing machine, and there was a small man sitting on top of it with the wheel in his hands. As I drove, I was struck by how similar that machine was to the human mind. Imagine sitting at the controls of such a huge source of energy. This is the weirdest secret anyone knows. Why do I say it's strange and say it's a secret? It was first told by some of the first wise men, and it's mentioned many times in the Bible. However, very few people have learned it and understand it, which is why it's strange and why, for some equally strange reason, it's almost a secret. I think you could walk up and down the main street of your town and ask each man what the secret to success is, but you probably wouldn't find a single person who could tell you in a month. This information is very important to us if we really understand it and use it. It's important not only for our own lives, but also for the lives of our families, employees, associates, and friends. Life should always be an exciting adventure and never boring. A man should live his life to the fullest. He should be happy to get out of bed in the morning, and he should have a job he likes and is good at. As the editor-in-chief of the Toledo Daily Blade, Grove Patterson once gave a speech. At the end of his speech, he said something that I'll never forget. I've learned a few things from working as a journalist, like that most people are good and that we all came from somewhere and are going somewhere, so we should make the most of our time here. The best teacher of all, the carpenter from the plains of Galilee, told us the secret over and over again. As she believed, so shall it be done to you. Now that I've told you the strangest secret in the world and how it works, I'll tell you how you can put this secret to a practical test in your own life. I want you to set up a test that will last 30 days. It won't be easy, but if you give it your best, it will completely change your life for the better. Sir Isaac Newton was an English mathematician and natural philosopher who lived in the 17th century. He gave us some natural laws of physics that apply to both people and the movement of things in the universe. It's a lot of things. First, it means knowing both intellectually and emotionally that what we think about makes us who we are and that we must control our thoughts if we want to control our lives. Second, it frees the mind from all of its chains and lets it fly as it was meant to do by God. Lastly, it's realizing that you set your own limits and that you have a lot of opportunities right now. It's about getting past small-mindedness and prejudice. Third, use all your courage to force yourself to think positively about your own problem. Set a clear goal for yourself. Let your amazing mind think about your goal from all possible angles. And let your imagination run wild with many different possible solutions. To refuse to believe that anything can stop you from reaching your goal, to act quickly and decisively when your path is clear, and to always be aware of the fact that you are standing in the middle of your own acre of diamonds, as Russell Conwell used to say. Fourth, save at least 10% of what you earn. Focus on your goal every day. I'll try to explain in the 30-day test I want you to take. Remember that you have nothing to lose and everything to gain by taking this test. There are two things that can be said about everyone. Everyone wants something and everyone is afraid of something. Maybe you want to make 4 times as much money or a certain amount. It could be a nice house, success at work, a certain place in life, or a happier family. Each of us wants something, so write down exactly what it is you want on a card. Make sure it's a single, well-defined goal. Don't show it to anyone, but keep it with you so you can look at it several times a day. Think about it in a happy, relaxed, and positive way when you wake up in the morning, and you'll have something to work for, something to get out of bed for, and something to live for. Look at it every chance you get during the look around you as you go about your daily life. You have as much right to this abundance as any other living thing. It's yours for the asking. Now comes the hard part, which is hard because it requires making a new habit, which is hard to do. However, once you make the habit, it will stick with you for the rest of your life. Stop thinking about what you are afraid of every time you have a scary or bad thought. People find it easier to think negatively than positively, which is why only 5% of people succeed. There will be times when you want to give up. You must start now to put yourself in that group for 30 days, because your mind will only think about what you let it think about each day. For this 30-day test, do more than you have to do and keep a positive attitude. It's as wonderful and simple as that. In fact, it's so simple that in our seemingly complicated world, it's hard for an adult to understand that all he needs is a purpose and faith. For 30 days, do your best. If you're a salesman, do your job like you've never done it before, but don't do it in a frantic way. Instead, do it in a calm, happy way, knowing that time well spent will bring you the wealth you deserve and want. But no matter what your job is, do it like you've never done it before. Faith is just another word for sticking to something. You could never keep going if you didn't have faith. If you fail in the first 30 days, which I mean by suddenly being overwhelmed by negative thoughts, you'll have to start over and go slowly for another 30 days until you're in that wonderful minority of people for whom almost nothing is impossible. Don't forget the card. It's essential as you start this new way of life. Write your goal, whatever it is, on one side of the card, and the words from the Sermon on the Mount on the other. Ask for it, and it will be given without motivation. No one has ever done anything great. Keep your own motivation high during the first 30 days. Above all, don't worry. Worry brings fear, and fear is paralyzing. The only thing that can make you worry during your test is trying to do everything yourself. Just keep your goal in mind, and everything else will take care of itself. No one wants to be a mediocre person, and no one wants a life full of anxiety, fear, and frustration. So, remember that you get what you sow. If you think bad thoughts, bad things will happen in your life. If you think good thoughts, good things will happen in your life. Over time, you will forget what you've heard on this record. Play it often to remind yourself of what you need to do to make this new habit stick. Gather your whole family together and talk about what has been said here. Most men will say they want to make money, but they don't understand the law. The only people who make money are those who work in the mint. The rest of us have to earn it. This is why people who keep looking for something for nothing or a free ride fail in life. The only way to make money is to give people something they want or need in exchange for their money. Most people get this law backwards. They think that you are successful if you make a lot of money, but the truth is that you can only make money after you are successful. It's like the man who sat in front of the stove and told it, "Give me heat, and then I'll add the wood." How many men and women do you know or think exist today who have the same attitude toward life? There are lots of them. Before we can get heat, we have to put the fuel in, and before we can get money, we have to help people. Don't worry about money. Instead, be of service, develop work, dream, and create, and you'll find that you can have as much success and abundance as you want. Remember that your success will always be based on how much and how well you serve, and that money is one way to measure success. No one can get rich without making other people's lives better. The rule doesn't have any exceptions. You can drive through any American neighborhood and rate the service the people there give you from your car. Have you ever thought about this measure before? Some people, like ministers, priests, and other devoted people, measure their returns in spiritual terms, but their returns are still the same as their service. Once this law is fully understood, anyone who can think can figure out his or her own luck. If he wants more, he must be of more service to those who give him his return. If he wants less, he must be of less service to those who give him his return. If you think you can get rich by fooling other people, you'll only end up fooling yourself. Even though it might take some time, you will always get back what you give out. Don't ever think you can avoid this, because it's impossible. We can get around man's laws, but we can't get around bigger laws. A great medical expert just told you about 6 steps you can take to be successful. 1. Set yourself a specific goal to stop putting yourself down. 3rd, instead of thinking about why you can't be successful, think about why you can. Trace your attitudes back to your childhood and try to figure out when you first acquired the impression that you couldn't be successful if you thought that way. 5. Write down a description of the successful person you want to be and then become that person. This will change the way you see yourself. David Harold Fink, MD, a well-known psychiatrist on the West Coast, wrote those lines. Pay the price by becoming the person you want to be, which is not nearly as hard as living a bad life, as experts have been telling you since the beginning of time. Do your 30-day test, then do it again and again until it becomes a part of you. Then you'll wonder how you ever lived any other way. If you live this new way, the floodgates of abundance will open and pour over you more riches than you could have imagined existed. Yes, you'll have a lot of money, but what's more important is that you'll have peace. You'll be in that wonderful minority of people who live calm, happy, successful lives. Start today. You have nothing to lose but your worries.